Now, the case count has reached over 1.2 million across the world. But in Ghana, we have 214 of the coronavirus pandemic cases. But it also speaks to the related issues or effort that have been done so far by the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, and generally the government of Ghana. In the president's latest update to the country on Sunday night, he indicated a number of efforts to ensure there's collaboration with industry for the production of at least 3.6 million in numbers of a number of PPEs or varied PPEs for frontline workers. But he also appealed to the general public to heed to guidelines and measures that have been undertaken or introduced so far to ensure that the case numbers are reduced. So far, one thing we do know is that we've not had a reduction in the numbers. They've been increasing. Well, this is where we transition and speak to a public health expert. He's a regular on the show. Dr. Paul Owusu-Oduro is going to join me. And good morning to you, Dr. Paul Owusu-Oduro. Dr. Owusu-Oduro, good morning to you.
Good morning, Roland.
And it's good to see you. So we have a number of highlights for Ghana. And if we go to the Ghana Health Service, it says 9 additional COVID cases have been reported. And we know the number still increasing. And if you look at the last update from the Minister for Information, who is also part of the whole government or interministerial team on this, we're told that we have in excess about 3,000 people up to the numbers who have been roped in within the contact tracing nets. Now, I would want to ask you what the Ghana Health Service says and us receiving these huge numbers of being the figure for contact tracing, and we are waiting results for them. Should it be anything as members of the public we should be wary about?
Contact tracing is very important at this stage because a lockdown in itself wouldn't stop the transmission of the infection. It is measures you put in place during the lockdown that is what will determine whether we are fighting it or not. So contact tracing is quite important, and I believe the numbers justify what we are seeing. But looking at the measures put in place, I was a bit disappointed at the numbers are getting now as far as confirmations are concerned. I was actually expecting something like what we have recorded at 240. Because prior to the lockdown, that is 30th March, the case count stood at 152. 1 week into the lockdown, we've recorded just about 62 more cases. And majority of these are also for persons under mandatory quarantine. So those in the community, it appears they are still on the loose. And that is what we are working as public health personnel.
Well, we know that where we are having the record number of cases are in the US. That's across the world. Are in the US, we have Italy, France, Germany, etc. But let me just take you through something. Before the beginning of this month, okay, by February 21, Italy had recorded only 21 cases. The United States of America had recorded 16. We're talking by February 21. France had recorded 18 cases. Then we also had Germany recording 18 cases as well, 25 for Spain, 5 for Iran. And since then, we've had a number of cases now getting into the tens of thousands of cases. What would you say they did right, or perhaps they saw within their health system that made them record this, and based on the numbers we are recording, whether they're slow or not, based on what we're doing, if you have to do this analysis?
Okay. In epidemiology, there is a term we call R0. What it simply means is if I am infected during the period that I am infectious, how many people can I transfer the infection to? And that is dependent on a lot of things, including social structures and the nature of our interaction. The COVID-19 disease R0 is estimated at between 2 and 3. So what it means is someone who has the infection can pass it on to 2 or 3 persons. For Ghana, because of the nature of our interactions and social structures, we expect a much higher RO. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ghana's R0 may even be more than 5. So what it means is someone who is infected in Ghana during the period that the person is infectious should be able to transfer the infection to about 5 people. And if that is what we are saying, then we expect a lot of people in the community to have the infection. That is why I said, looking at the effort we put in place, I'm a bit disappointed at the 214 cases we had so far. Perhaps majority are yet to be tested because the president said we have about 19,000 contacts that have been traced and about 15,000 samples waiting to be tested. So if the result of these 15,000 comes and we are hitting anywhere around the thousands, then maybe I may be convinced that we are doing the right thing. Because as we all know, it must get worse before it begins to decline. The earlier we hit the peak, the better it will be for all of us. So we shouldn't be scared if we are getting high numbers. It will only mean that we are doing the right.
When it comes to the recording of numbers, and if I have to borrow from what you just said, it has to get higher for us to say that we've reached a peak and then we can make conclusions of how we have to reduce. Now, if that is the case, would you have advised that we should have, within the lockdown, been doing mass testing of?
That is the key. That is the key. And I was quite happy when I heard media reportage saying there was going to be mass testing. But that enthusiasm was dashed following the information minister and the health minister's press address. The testing that they are doing takes care of 3 parts. The first one is contacts of confirmed cases, which we were doing initially. The second is those travelers who came in within 14 days prior to the imposition of the mandatory quarantine. And the third one is the contact tracers going into the community. And upon deliberation with the members of the community, if anyone shows signs or symptoms, they test. But we are aware that majority of these patients do not show signs and symptoms of the disease. So if we are doing symptomatic testing, then it's obvious we are going to miss out on a lot of them. The CDC in the US released a report, I think last week, that 1 out of every 4 Americans diagnosed of the COVID-19 disease didn't have any sign or symptom. So that puts the symptomatic rate at about 25%. And out of that 25%, 18% of them, that is 1 out of about 5 of all those that were asymptomatic and tested positive, will never show signs and symptoms after the recovery. So if you have these persons in the society, and obviously they are those fueling the epidemic, because they will never be smoked out until we do testing. But it's obvious our resources wouldn't be able to support mass testing. So it appears at this stage we are doing the best we can. A lockdown in itself is very expensive. If you lock down, you are either slowing or halting production machinery. So it comes with economic cost. So once you take that venture, we should have been able to commit enough resources to do enough testing to be able to smoke out all those asymptomatic persons in the society. As we speak now, I think we have just about 50,000 tests. And if you look at Iowa Central, where your studios are located, the 2016 parliamentary elections recorded a voter turnout of over 60,000. So even if we are to do mass testing in Iowa alone, it will not be enough. So it appears that is why we are doing a bit of targeted and selective testing in order for us to be do what we are doing. But the mass testing definitely would have been the way to go.
The broadcast house, France 24, just by 5 a.m. GMT or 5:05 GMT, was recording a number or reported number of cases of asymptomatic transmissions in China. And we know China had opened its industry remarkably by a greater percentage over the last week or two. Now, since we are doing less of the testing, either because of logistical concerns or our inability to be able to do the isolations, what could be the public health implications of being in this vacuum where we have asymptomatic people with some traces that need to be done?
It's a public health scare. And if we still have asymptomatic patients in the society, it's like we've not done anything, because they will keep on transferring the infection to others. And with time, we will come back to where we started.
Now, if somebody is asymptomatic, what does it mean? It means that the person is healthy or the person is exhibiting signs?
No, the person is not exhibiting any of the signs or symptoms of the disease. For this, we know the classical signs and symptoms are sneezing, coughing, high temperature, and in some cases, difficulty in breathing. But this virus is also a bit tricky, because in some patients, the symptoms may actually start with diarrhea. So I think we have to look at our case definitions again in order to be able to catch all these people who may harbor the virus but may not present with the clinical signs and symptoms that we all know.
It looks like, if you read the symptoms, they look like the normal tropical ailments that we find in our OPDs. True?
Yes, that is true.
Okay. Does it mean at all our public health institutions or even the private one, we should be treating any normal case or patient as a suspected case?
That is very true. If we really want to win the fight, that is how it's supposed to be done. Because there was a woman in Buharis, unfortunately, she passed on from COVID-19. But from reports, she was being treated for pneumonia. Because in severe cases of COVID-19 disease, you may get pneumonia. So she was being treated in pneumonia in about 3 public hospitals. It wasn't getting better before she was transferred to, I think, Konfanoti or so. And that was when it was detected that it was COVID-19. If you read media reports on the death of Obbo's father also, it appears he was being managed for malaria. Malaria definitely comes with fever. And perhaps he did a malaria test, which might have false positive or something. And then that made the doctors think malaria. And at that point, you expose all the health with this deadly disease. Yeah, so I agree. Initially, because we were dealing with imported cases, when they are taking the history, you find out if you have any travel history. But now that is in the community, that question is no longer relevant. Anybody who presents to any facility with any of these signs or symptoms should be treated as a possible COVID-19 case in order for everybody to see.
Mm. Okay. We have to let you go, though. Dr. Paul Owusu-Oduro is a public health expert. And on the other side of the transmission is Dr. Lord Mensah. Dr. Lord Mensah is a senior lecturer with the finance department of the University of Ghana Business School. Now, when it comes to all the related issues, we also do know that the impact on the economy for coronavirus is at the heart of decisions that need to be taken. Now, Dr. Lord Mensah, I would want to ask you, how far-reaching are the effects of coronavirus in the economy in the first place?
Yeah, Roland, clearly, if you look at our economic structure, it's purely informal. I mean, the largest chunk are people who run their own business, are people who are one or two people without being a network of people. So these are informal sectors. Now, this is an economy that has been locked down as a result of coronavirus. So definitely, I mean, people are going to be limited in their movement. And if people don't move actively, it's going to affect the economy, and especially the three regions that we're looking at, sorry, two regions that we're looking at Kumasi and Greater Accra. Now, those are regions that contribute, the greatest part of our GDP. So effectively, we should expect that once this regions has been locked down, it will have on the economy. And if you look at the GDP contribution in terms of percentage, we're looking at about 30 to 40% being contributed by Greater Accra alone. Now, if you look at that, you get to know that movement is seized, it's going to have a full GDP. And clearly, apart from that, the cost of out in finding a way to curb the situation also has impact on the economy. So, to the large extent, it's a health crisis that will definitely build up to the economic crisis of the country.
And so, if government wants to give a stimulus package to businesses, how would you advise that ideally this should be done, knowing that this is coming in the wake of that announcement by the president in his last address?
Yeah, if you look at giving a stimulus package, obviously something that every government will do. I mean, when it comes to situations like this, remember, governance functions very well when the economy is heavy. So if we find ourselves in situations like this, for a way to energize the economy or to revitalize the economy, you have to make sure that you provide stimulus package. But then you have to be careful as to how you go about it. Because if you don't take care, you provide stimulus packages that will go into sectors that are not necessarily going to build up directly as expected in economic growth at this time of the coronavirus. Now, government has realized something which I'm happy with it in the presidential statement that was given yesterday. He's realized that indirectly as far as our economy is concerned, it's more of informal. I mean, people going to the market, people traveling here and there, something on the table on. So he made an announcement. At least electricity and water bill will be up in the next 3 months. I mean, and then as to whether the third will have, or maybe within 3 months, when we get into the end, government can come and extend that kind of stimulus package or not. I don't know about that, but let's see what goes on. But you see, that is an indirect way of putting money in the people's pocket. But what is missing for me, I think the government should touch on it, is, at this time, people are working from home. So they are spending more on, ICT bundle, okay, communication. So effectively, I was expecting that the president would have touched on that aspect, even the number of calls that people have to make. So if you are to provide stimulus package, the target is very, very important as to where it's supposed to go. Last time I also mentioned that some sectors comes to leverage on other sectors when they are, vibrant. So for instance, if you take up the hospitality industry, clearly see that when people are active, that is when they enjoy these facilities. When corporations want to have their conferences, when they want to have outside of work activities, that is when most of the time they enjoy these facilities. So I'm expecting that, fine, let's provide the stimulus package to sectors that, to direct create economic activities, and by so doing, will gradually build up into hospitality sector. So by the time they receive their stimulus package, the market will be ready for them. For them to make impact on the economy. So for me, I always say that we need a stimulus package. It needs to be targeted. I was happy with the announcement yesterday. Like I said, the absorption of water, electricity bill, is a good starter. For the country, we realize that every home we use electricity. Every single home, water is being used. So if we're providing an absorption as a country, it's indirectly money in people's pockets. So frankly, on that side, we are doing very well. But then what is missing is the digital aspect, where people using the telephone more often now. People are also communicating from their homes. And if we want to provide stimulus package, we shouldn't miss out that side.
Now, if we're targeting the businesses, and we know that we have a largely informal sector, even what we call mid-size or small-scale industries, we even can recategorize them. How do we do the means testing or perhaps the proper targeting to know who qualifies to get access to a stimulus package? What would you advise?
No, at this time, it's going to be an exercise that you try to, differentiate. It's supposed to benefit, others. You should know the structure of that. Even to identify them for tax purposes is quite difficult. So to categorize them and say going to benefit directly, it won't be difficult. That is why you have to look at some essential needs of this sector so that you channel the package in those sectors, and then they will all benefit in the long run.
Is there no a possibility that we will end up perhaps giving stimulus packages to well-established businesses with proper accounting structures, corporate structures, and at the end of the day, the true sense of in our environment, what a small-scale industry is or a small-size business is, we could miss out on them?
Well, it's the structure of the economy. The president also mentioned, the banking corridor kind of stimulus package, where interest rate, is being reduced. In fact, the MPR has been reduced, and this is a way of building up, interest rate through the banking corridors for the sectors that are well structured. What we have discussed earlier is mainly for the informal sector. That is also in the line, and I'm happy with it.
So now we are talking broadly about making sure everybody is roped in. And the president also announced that a number of industry players had been talked to, or they've had some dialogue with them, and they're supposed to complement the production of PPEs, and he mentioned 3.6 million in numbers. Does it mean that existing businesses in other services would then have to recalibrate or perhaps look at their operations and whether they can now fit into the production of PPEs, whether it's for the short and medium term, etc.?
Well, if you look at the industries that were called by the president, most of these PPEs sometimes were part of the production line. If not part of the production line, you just have to do a bit of extension to get that thing done. For instance, if you take hand sanitizer, you could see that those that are flux in the market are beverage companies. And you look at the process of producing alcohol, by extension of a bit of temperature, you should be able to get to the region of percentage of alcohol that is needed for these hand sanitizers. So it shouldn't be a companies coming into the market as companies, but then the existing ones that can provide extension of their manufacturing process, or by some of them serving as byproduct in their manufacturing process, they can easily come in. But it's not a time for new companies to come and establish and say, we want to produce these. The question is, how long will this COVID-19 last? Nobody knows. So there's also a component of risk ahead as the timing of this, COVID-19 is concerned. For you to make investment, a new investment in that direction.
Well, it's a great discussion to have, but generally, how would you rate the president's speech in relation to the packages and the announcements for the ordinary Ghanaian, for relief purposes and also for industry purposes?
Well, I think as a country, we are doing well. Remember, the economy was now picking up as after the banking sector cleanup. The economy was not liquefied as expected. But then what has come now, I have no choice to come up with economic restructuring, making sure that the informal sector put money indirectly in their pocket. Those who can have money, the banks too, we have a way to move money to the corridors of the bank in the form of using interest rate to get them. So I think the response is somehow good. Just that it's unfortunately late in responding to the entry of this coronavirus to this country, and that is what has brought us this far in economic sense. And I believe that what we are doing, we are on course as a country.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Lord Mensah. And Dr. Lord Mensah, we know, is a senior lecturer at the finance department of the University of Ghana Business School. But moving on, we also do know that we have to talk about other relevant issues as well. But it's where we bring you into the conversation. We will want you to call us. You see the numbers on your screens very soon, but the numbers, let me just run them by you, are 0302211691 or 2. We gave you snipers of the president's speech in news update and followed up with this interaction. First with Dr. Paul Owusu-Oduro, and then we had Dr. Lord Mensah, who is a senior lecturer with the finance department of the University of Ghana Business School. So we're opening the phone lines, and because it's the follow-up from the president's speech, what do you think about the president's speech, etc.? And then the analysis by our two experts, one on public health and the other on finance, as to the initiatives and the packages that have been announced by the president, and subsequently that interaction that Emefa Apau had with the Minister for Information and Member of Parliament for Ofuansia Yorubi, Kojo Opon Nkrumah. We already do have Kaswa resident, Xavier, on the line. And Xavier, good morning to you.
Good on.
Yeah.
Please,
how are you coping with the lockdown in the first place? It's exactly a week, and we're starting the second week.
Yeah, this is the second week we are starting. Please, we are having our parents in the Volta region, and let's say we just came to school here, and as the thing started, we had to lock down here. We don't know what to do, and we don't have anything on we right now. We don't know what to do. You understand? So I just want the president do something small for those people who, like, maybe our parents are not here. We, like, let's say under 25, we are here. Like, we are 3 here. You understand? My little sister is like 10 years.
Okay.
Now,
let me ask you, do you have access to potable water, as in water coming from the pipes? So Ghana water? You don't have access?
Where we are in Kaswa here, there is no pipe.
Okay.
But it's like a borehole, so you have to go there and go and fetch it and pay some small money.
Right.
Or you go to, there's some small river here, you can take your bucket and go and fetch it. That was it's like a stream.
So as an ordinary Ghanaian, you would want what? Let's say mobile money, or how do you want that package to be given to you? Because stimulus packages are supposed to be given by way of incentives, reducing what you may have paid for a certain good or utility, and then that becomes money that remains in your pocket.
If it will be something that maybe they can do, like more money for us or something like that, it will be cool. Because here too, even if you get more money, you can't go and withdraw, because if you go to withdraw, the police people are there.
Well, that's Xavier from Kaswa, and it's where we also remain on that same stretch geographically. We go to the central regional capital of Cape Coast, and John Kufuor is there. John is not the former president, though. John Kufuor.
Good morning.
Yes, you're not the former president. I said that. Your voice even depicted that. Good morning to you. How's the central regional capital of Cape Coast? How's Cape Coast this morning?
Oh, yeah, we are doing very well.
You are not under lockdown, so tell me the atmosphere.
We are not under lockdown, but we are observing the social distancing and the other things that we are supposed to do.
Well, great.
Yeah, we are doing that.
So the president's speech and what our two analysts said on public health, as well as Dr. Lord Mensah on the stimulus packages and the economy, as announced by the president.
As for the public health aspect, I think that is where my problem lies more. In fact, you see, the testing, I'm expecting more of the testing. The president said more of the test kits are on their way coming. But you see, looking at what happened at Kolebu, that the nurses are now trying to be on a sit-down strike simply because they want all of them to be tested. That was my problem. As for the packages and those packages, it's nice ones, the nurses aspect, the what do you call it, the utility services. When Lord Mensah was talking, Dr. Lord Mensah, he made mention of utility, water and electricity. I want to know whether electricity was really part, because I heard only water.
Okay, so what the president said was that water, the bills have been covered for all citizens who have access to water, and I'm sure water coming from the Ghana Water Company. So
electricity is not part.
What he did say about electricity was that he had given out the directive that there should be constant supply of electricity.
Yeah,
so it means that what he promised in relation to electricity is consistent power supply, no power cuts, no what we call in our local parlance light off.
Yeah. I think that one is a good call. But I was thinking, water and electricity, they go together. But we always ask for more. So I was thinking, being electricity, once we are in lockdown and stuff, you'll be using more of the electricity and stuff.
So so you wanted free electricity supply, no bills for the next 3 months.
As well.
John Kufuor,
thank you.
Please enjoy your day in Cape Coast. We go to Adenta, just close by, and it's where we have Adenta resident Mauli on the line. Good morning to you, Mauli.
Yeah, good morning.
You are feeling the lockdown pinch. How has it been for you, moving up and down?
Well, we have been managing. So far, so good.
Okay. Manager Mauli, please give us your comments on this.
Yes. In fact, I must commend the president for his address to the nation yesterday. I think he made mention of a lot that we must commend him. But now, as we are home, we aren't working anymore. We spend a lot on data, telephone calls. I was actually expecting the president should to actually reduce tariffs on calls and probably make easy access to data for us. Because some of us, we work from home all day and we were not fasted. So I think we should be considered in the next address that he'll be coming out. But I must say that he's doing well, so we commend him. Since yesterday, my tap has actually not been flowing. And I also heard the president speak on the tap flowing and then the electricity issue.
Yeah, he also said that electricity, based on the directive he's giving, should be supplied on a 24-hour basis, no power cut.
Exactly, but even yesterday evening, at the time he was addressing the nation, my lights were out.
In Adenta?
So I had to stream online and then listen to him.
But that's good. At least you can stream online. So you had your gadgets powered, right? But,
yes,
but let me ask you, before I go to Alote of Asymptomatic, how would you rate the speech of the president yesterday evening or Sunday night?
Oh, in fact, he did well. I must commend him. Out of 10, I think 9 over 10. He did well.
Yeah. You have a good marking scheme. All right.
Yes.
That's Mauli. Mauli in Adenta is a resident there, of course, logically. We also go to Asymptomatic. And which area of Asymptomatic are you calling from, Alote? Alote? Well, please make sure that you call through with the lines 03022116991 or 2. They're already on your screen, so please make sure you call us. We'll go to Facebook, read a couple of your messages as well, and then you can touch base with us through our Facebook and our Twitter handle at JoyNews on TV. Terence is just close by, I think some few meters away. Kotobabi. Terence, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, great. I love your voice this morning. You're within a lockdown area. How are you coping?
We are doing well. It's not too bad.
Great. Yesterday, the president had a great speech, according to many viewers we're getting this morning. But we also had an interaction with Dr. Owusu-Oduro on public health, related concerns he had, and how we need to move forward with testing of people. And then Dr. Lord Mensah also made mention and made commentary on the president's stimulus package and all that. What do you have to say about it?
Unfortunately, when they were speaking, I was outside.
I don't understand. Okay. So, but the president's message was clear. When you watched or listened to it?
The thing is this, so far, the president, ever since the whole thing began, has been doing very well.
Okay.
He's been doing wonderfully well because you cannot expect too much from a father who, let me say, the whole country expects so much of from. What I want to say is this, with the packages rolled out, especially for the water. Take a rented house, for instance, where the water doesn't make it possible for the water to run through the pipe regularly. So you get to just store it in a poly tank, and then people tend to buy. And things like that. It is not going to be easy getting the understanding of the one who controls the poly tank to be ready to give water freely. Because at the end of the day, the person will tell you, what assurance do I have that I do this for you people for the next 3 months? If at the end of the day, the bill comes and it is still very clear that I've been charged, will you people now be ready to calculate backwards and pay me? What do we have to do about things like that?
Okay.
And I was really hoping the president would do something about electricity. Talking about consistent power supply, we've been enjoying that for some time now. As and when there is any problem and a part has to go off, the whole country has to go off. That's, I call it consistent. So I was actually hoping he would say, okay, if you tend to buy 20 cedis and it will last you for a week based on your consumption, we are going to look at it where when you buy the 20 cedis, based on the same consumption, it should last you for about 2 or 3 weeks. Then some happiness, you understand.
How would you rate the president's speech so far, and commend him for or not commend him for all the things that he's been talking about in his update? How would you rate it? 200
over 100 has scored that from me because he's been doing wonderfully well.
Okay, you score him 200%.
Yes.
Well, and that is Terence. Terence is calling us from Kotobabi. But though I wanted to ask one last thing. Do you have people who tend to buy water from polytanks or other stored facilities in your area?
A lot of them.
Okay.
That's what I was saying, that these people will not be able to enjoy the free water supply the president has announced. Because whoever it is that sells the water will not have that trust and confidence to say that the bill, when it comes, will not, I will not be such for the past month. So some of these things, some of us will not get to enjoy it.
Okay, I get your point. Terence from Kotobabi. And we have to go to far off Central Region, Trefo Praso, and it's where Isaac is calling from. He's our last caller, though. Isaac, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for your patience so far. The president's speech, first rate it and tell me what you picked from it based or by way of the announcement and the commentary from you.
Okay. The president's speech was very wonderful. I rate it in the region of 7, if I should give 10. And one thing that I picked from it is the fact that they are doing cleanup exercise. But I also feel within me that at this important time, the president should also look at cleaning the economy in terms of importation. Now, you realize that a lot of our traders, if they had the chance to become ministers, we would have all seen what we would have been doing as a country. So the sensitization should be more on our trading aspects because people are buying more food. And we are wishing that they also understand it from that way and from that angle.
Well, thank you very much. Isaac from Trefo Praso for your contribution. And all of you who have called, Terence, we've had Mauli, we've had a number of others also all on the phone. But John Kufo in Cape Coast, have a great morning as well. And then Xavier. But it is your birthday today. Jesse Thomas Kweku Hamilton, you live in Dansoman. And also from myself, your mother, you go to the St. Benedict School. It's in Dansoman. You're in class 4A. And I wish you a precious happy birthday. But it's where we link to our health tip for the morning. Please do enjoy it. We'll be right back with the latest.